Hello there, everyone. My name is Ken Dixon, and I, with German attorney Joseph Glazer, am co-author of Mieter and Vermieter, a Handbook of Rental Law for Americans in Germany. So today we're going to take a slightly different path. On the past two videos, we've gone over things to take care of or to consider before renting a space in Germany. And today we're actually going to go through just some fundamental looks at the lease, or in German as it's known, the Mietvertrag. And we'll talk about that, just the fundamentals of it today. And then in coming videos, we'll go through a couple of details or a couple of things that you'll expect to find in the Mietvertrag or lease. So we'll cover fundamentals today. We'll also discuss the verbal agreement of a lease and why it's good and bad. And then from that point on, we'll go over in following videos details of things that you'll find in a German lease. So with that in mind, you have to consider when arriving in Germany, likely nothing is going to be more important than finding a new place. I mean, this is the place where you're going to be after a hard day of work. It's the place where you're going to play with your kids. It's where you're going to invite your friends over for dinner. So therefore, once you find a place, understanding your lease is extremely important. And there are two simple ideas when signing a lease in Germany. It's the same thing for signing any type of contract. And those two things are: don't sign anything you do not understand, and understand that some items written into the contract may not be legal and could potentially be voidable. Those two notions may sound oversimplified, but should be acknowledged because when you get into Germany, it's going to be a hectic state. You're going to be trying to find things like finding a pediatrician, a doctor, wondering when your household goods will arrive. If you're arriving at a cold type of year, and you don't have cold weather clothes, it could be hectic. You got things going on like conversion rates in your head in regards to euros to dollars and all those things. So you could run into a situation where a German landlord puts a lease in front of you and you don't necessarily understand it, and you're trying to wing it with Google Translate and hoping for the best. And then if you have any questions, there's a possibility that the German landlord will just wave their hand and say, "Kein Problem, alles good," and you sign it. But that may not be the best move for you. The best thing to do is to have an attorney or the Mieterverein, who we've discussed in the first and second videos, have them look over it. And even if you're not a member of the Mieterverein or do not have attorney insurance yet, it's advisable to pay the extra euros for a legal opinion. Regarding the fundamentals of a German lease, it's like most contracts in that the parties come together to form an agreement. In this case, the leasing agreement in German is known as the Mietvertrag, and it's typically in written form. Now, occasionally, the lease can be a verbal agreement between landlord and tenant. On the surface, a lease in verbal form can be a horrifying idea for a potential renter. This is primarily because with an agreement that is put together orally, the details are difficult to prove in court. It's one person said, the other person said this, and yet from a German perspective, it could be extremely beneficial as well. Due to the contractual freedom of German law, the parties to a rental contract are free to conclude a rental agreement in written or oral form. For leases with a fixed term of more than 1 year, it must be written to be fully effective. So otherwise, for a tenant, a verbal lease without further details is the best thing that can happen to them. That's because the entire maintenance of the leased property becomes the responsibility of the landlord. This includes repairs, operating costs, heating, water, etc. And these things are primarily, in a written contract, these things are primarily the renter's responsibility typically. However, the majority of rental contracts between landlord and tenant will be solidified by a written agreement. And in the following videos, we're going to go over the different components that you'll find in a agreement. And that'll start with the parties to the lease, which is the Mietvertragspartien, which are going to be composed of the Vermieter, or the landlord, and the tenant or tenants, or the Mieter. So we're going to go ahead and pause right here. It's going to be a short video today, and then we'll follow with components that you'll find in a typical German lease. So on that note, please feel free to give us a like or comments, or however you're finding this on Facebook or YouTube or what have you. If you do have any questions, please feel free to let us know. And then additionally, if you do have any legal questions or anything of that nature, and would like to talk with my co-author, Joseph Glazer, I'm going to put his web address in the show notes, and then we will go from there. So thank you for viewing, and we hope to see you on the next video. Thanks.